TSI question. If there are 12 inches in 1 foot, how many inches are there in X amount of feet? I don't know how many feet it is, but they did give me that 12 inches are in 1 foot. So that means for every 1 foot, there'll be 12 inches. What about 2 feet? Well, if it's 1 feet, 12, 2 feet will be double that. So that'll be 24. 3 feet, that'll be 36. How can I apply this to a number that's not directly in sequence? Well, I know that I'm increasing every time by 12. So what I can do is say, well, 7, I need to know how many 12s it is. So I would take 12, multiply that times 7, and that would give me the number of inches. If I'm always going to multiply the value of feet by 12, which is x, that would be the algebraic expression that I could always use. Question number 2. If the number of followers in week 5 was a 1/4 increase from week 1, how many followers were gained during week 5? So we know that the question is asking us the number of followers in week 5. Week 5 is not on here, but they said that it was a 1/4 increase from week 1. So a 1/4 increase from week 1. So let's go look at week number 1. How many followers did I have? Right here at the 1. And this is a graph that's in hundreds. So that means in week 1, I had 100 followers. Okay, 100 followers. I increased by 1/4, which lets me know I need to determine what 1/4 of 100 is. Since 1/4 is a fraction, it tells me this is split into 4 parts. And I want one of those parts. How can we mathematically split 100 into 4 parts? By dividing. So we'll do 100 divided by 4. You may have a calculator, you may not, I'm not sure. So 4 does not go into 1, but it does go into 10 2 times. 4 times 10 is 8. Subtract, bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times, and then there's no remainder. So this was a 25 follower increase from week 1. Week 5 is going to be week 1 plus the increase. 100 plus 25 equals 125 followers in week 5. Word problems, you want to break them down as much as you can and take them step by step. Last year, Foot Locker sold S amount of shoes. This year, they sold 6 more than double the number of shoes from last year. If next year they plan to sell triple the amount of shoes sold this year, how many shoes will they sell? Let's break it down. Last year, they sold S amount of shoes. So this was last year, right? They sold S amount of shoes. That's supposed to be L. This year, okay, so this year, it says they sold 6 more than double from last year. 6, what's more than mean? Add, double. I'm doubling something, so I'm going to times it by 2. Last year, what was last year? S. So 6 plus 2 times S. The next section, if next year they plan to sell triple the amount sold this year. So this is next year. It's going to be triple the amount of this year, right here. We're going to triple it, which means we're going to multiply this entire expression times 3. It says, how many shoes will they sell? Now, if this answer here, 3 times 6 plus 2s is not available, that means you're going to have to find an equivalent answer. And we're going to go ahead and solve it. 3 times 6 is going to give me 18. And then 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. And then you just tack the S there on the bottom. And your final answer will be 18 plus 6. If 5x minus 3 is equal to 8, what is the value of x? Anytime we're looking for the value of a variable, that means we are going to have to get x alone on one side of the equation. We do that by reversing or undoing everything that you see happening to x here. So since I'm subtracting 3, I'm going to add 3. And I apply this to both sides because you want to keep the equation equal since it is an equation. Have to do whatever you do to one side to the other. Negative 3 and positive 3 make 0. That leaves me with 5x is equal to 8 plus 3 on this side. Now I need to reverse this multiplication because anytime a letter and a number is smashed together, they are being multiplied. 5 divided by 5 simplifies down to 1, which leaves me with x on this side. Have to divide by 5 on that side as well. It does not reduce down. That is as far as it goes. So the value of x is 11/5. Ashley jumps an average of 120 times per minute. How many seconds would it take Ashley to jump 80 times? They give us a rate here, 120 times per minute. But they want us to determine how many seconds it'll take her to jump 80 times. So let's go ahead and set up the first one, 120 jumps in 1 minute. We're going to convert this to seconds. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So this tells me that it's 120 jumps for every 60 seconds. Let's take this rate and break it down even further. I have 120 jumps for 60 seconds. Let's see if I can get that down to how many jumps it is per second. I can see that I can take the zeros away, divisible by 10. That'll give me 12/6. Now I can divide them both by 6. And we want to leave that 1 at the bottom because that's going to be per second. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. This is my unit rate. For every 2 jumps it takes her 1 second. How many seconds would it take her to jump 80 times? Well, I know that there's 2 jumps in every second. So I'm going to take these and divide it into 2 and see how many seconds that gives me. 80 divided by 2 is 40 seconds. The dot plot shows the number of packages 10 residents received this week. What fraction of residents received less than 3 packages? So each dot is going to represent a resident. That's why there's 10 dots. And then these numbers down here tell us how many packages the dot represents. So like 1 resident got 4 packages, 1, 2, 3 residents got 3 packages, and so on. Now we're looking for the amount of residents that got less than 3 packages, and we want to write it as a fraction. So we're going to look at 2 packages, 1 packages, and 0 packages. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 residents received less than 3 packages. And we need to write this as a fraction, which is part over whole. What's the whole amount of residents that live there, or that we're talking about, which is 10. Now, if you don't see this answer, that means they want you to simplify. And we always reduce by whatever factor that they have in common. So both of these can be simplified or divided by 2. When I do 6 divided by 2, I get 3. 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So 3/5 of the residents received less than 3 packages that week. The formula for the volume of a cone is V is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. The information given to substitute in for r is going to be 3a, and it says h is equal to 6a plus 2. So I'm going to do exactly what this says. I'm going to fill in the information that they gave me. So 1/3 pi, r is now going to be 3a. Make sure you put your exponent times 6a plus 2 because that's the information that's going to represent the h. We are just going to simplify as much as we can because it tells us to write it in terms of a, which means we're not going to get to a specific number. We're still going to have variables in the expression or equation. 1/3 pi times 3a squared. So the first thing I want to do is these exponents here. That'll be 1/3 pi. This now becomes 3 times 3, which is 9, and a times a, which is a squared. And I'm going to bring that 6a plus 2 right down into the line. Now I have multiplication between these first 2 factors here, or first two factors. Let's go ahead and multiply that. 1/3 times 9. If you don't know how to multiply fractions without a calculator, I'm not sure if they'll give you one for this part, but you want to write the 9 over the 1, and it'll be 9 times 1, which is 9, and then 3 times 1, which is 3. You'll simplify that, and it'll become just a whole number of 3. So 3 pi a squared is what that simplifies down to, and you're going to drop your 6a plus 2 in the line. Now we're going to multiply this first factor of information. Now we're going to multiply all of this times both of the terms inside the parentheses. That means I'm going to have to multiply that twice. Let's do our first set, number times number, and then we'll do the letters times the letters. So I have 3 times 6, which is 18. Pi comes down. A times a, which will give me a total of a cubed. Let's do the second term. Now I'll do 3 times 2, which is 6. Pi, and then a squared, since there's not any other a terms. And that'll be your final answer. 18 pi a cubed plus 6 pi a squared. All right, so study group A bought 4 bags of candy, and I'm just going to go ahead and mark this up while I'm reading it. 4 bags of popcorn, and 2 boxes of candy for $18.50. Study group B bought 3 bags of popcorn and 4 boxes of candy for $19.50. The question says, how much would 2 bags of popcorn and 1 box of candy be? So let's go ahead and write down this information. I have 4 bags of popcorn plus, because it says and 2 boxes of candy, all that combined equal $18.15. The next set is 3 bags of popcorn plus 4 boxes of candy, and that came to $19.50. And then we'll deal with the question at the very end, because right now we got to deal with this. So if we have letters in an equation, we need to figure out what that popcorn is equal to and what that candy is equal to. That's what we're trying to determine. We need to get one of these letters all by themselves on the side of the equation so that we can figure out what it's equal to. The great thing about these equations is that we can manipulate them, because we need to make a 0 pair here or here so that they go away. I am going to multiply each one of these terms by a -2. Why am I going to do that? Because when I multiply this middle term c by -2, it becomes -4c. And that means when I combine these two equations, it is going to make a 0 pair. And that's exactly what we want. So I can add these two equations together, which is what I'm about to do. 3p and -8 is -5p. That is equal to 4c and -4c, which is 0, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. It's supposed to be a smiley face. Whoopsie. Then I have 1950 and -37, which is going to give me -1750. I almost have p all by itself. So let's go ahead and divide by -5 on both sides. When I do that, -5 divided by -5 simplifies down to p. And then -1750 divided by -5 is going to give me a positive 350. So I know that the bags of popcorn cost $3.50 each. Now that I know that, I'm going to use that information and substitute it back into any of the equations at the top of the page. It doesn't matter. So let's take 4p plus 2c is equal to 1850. Because I want to know how much this candy costs. I'm going to take 4 multiplied times 350 plus 2c is equal to 1850. 4 times 350 is going to give me $14 plus 2c is equal to 1850. I'm going to subtract 14, and I'm not going to add the decimal on both sides. Now I have 2c is equal to 450. Divide both sides by 2. And the boxes of candy are $2.25 each. So now I have that my popcorn is $3.50. My candy is $2.25. Let us figure out. Remember, let me go back to the top. Remember, they asked us to determine what 2 bags of popcorn and 1 box of candy will be. Okay, so let's remember that. 2 boxes of popcorn plus 1 bag of candy. How much is that going to equal? Well, 2 bags of popcorn would be 2 times 350 plus 1 box of candy, which is 225. And then we have 2 times 350 plus 225, which is going to give me $9.25. Woo! That one took a little work, but we got it. All right, if 4a minus 6 is equal to 2a, then what is 10 times a? The first thing we need to do is just figure out what a is equal to. What does a equal? And we do that by isolating. Remember, we have to get the variable alone on one side of the equation. So I'm going to have to undo everything that they're doing. Remember, reverse. We got to reverse it. We got to put it, go backwards, you know what I'm saying? So 4a minus 6 is equal to 2a. Let's get all the a's on one side. The only way I can do that is, again, by doing the opposite of what I see, because this is now going to become a zero pair. And I'm left with negative 6 is equal to 2 minus 4, which is negative 2a. Last thing I need to do to separate that a from that 2 is reverse that multiplication. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. Now I have a is equal to a positive 3. Perfect. Now we can go ahead and substitute that information into my equation. 10 times 3 is equal to 30. We got it. Very good. It says if the slope of the line y equals mx minus 2 is greater than the slope of the line y equals negative x minus 2, what's supposed to be true about m? Well, let's first write the y-intercept formula, which is y equals mx plus b. That's the form that both of these lines are written in. This m, which is the coefficient of x, so whatever number is in front of x, that's going to represent your slope, okay? So for this first equation, the slope is m. They just gave us a letter. And it's supposed to be greater than the slope of this line here. Well, this says a negative x. There's no number, right? Well, actually, it's understood to be a 1. Anytime there's not a number in front of x, that variable is going to have a 1 in front of it. That lets us know that m is going to be greater than negative 1. So the Raven baseball team has 12 players with a bat speed average of 73 miles per hour. Then the Hawks has 13 players with a bat speed of 68 miles per hour. What is the average bat speed of all the players? So they want 12 and 13. They want everybody, okay? Everybody. Let's remember that. How many players do they want in all? All 25 players. Let's look at the first team. They had a 12-player team with a bat speed of 73, and then the other ones had 13 and they averaged 68. So instead of just adding 73 plus 68, because just it would be too easy, right? Of course. We're going to take that 12 and multiply it times 73 because I have 12 73s. This is the average of the players on the team, okay? Each player averaged 73 miles per hour. And same with this one. I'll do 13 times 68. So 12 times 73 is going to equal 876. And then 13 times 68 will be 884. I'm going to add these two numbers together to get a total of 1,760. Now remember, whenever I find the total number, I added everything together. Then I'm going to divide by how many numbers I added. Or how many, let me not say that, how many sets of data that I added together. Remember, these numbers here actually include 12 and 13. So my total number of players that I'm looking for is 25. So you're going to take this 1760 and divide it by 25. And when you do that, you'll get 70 and 4 tenths. Okay, number 12. Which one of these is not equivalent to 2x minus 10 times x plus 5? You're going to want to solve this so you can determine which one of these matches and which one does not. Now, you can use the FOIL method to multiply these two binomials, or you can use the box method or any other method that you may be familiar with. You just need to make sure you do it right. So let's take everything in this first set of parentheses and multiply it times the second set. So I have 2x minus x, which is 2x squared, and then 2x times 5, which is going to give me a positive 10x. Now I want to take everything and multiply it times negative 10. So negative 10 times x will be negative 10x, and then negative 10 times 5 will be negative 50. Remember, you always combine like terms. So here I have a negative 10 and a positive 10. That'll become a 0 pair, and I'll be left with 2x squared minus 50. So now let's look at our answer choices and see which one doesn't work. 2 times x squared is going to give me 2x squared, and then 2 times a negative 25 will give me a negative 50. That one checks out. Here I have 2 times x squared, which is 2x squared. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and then 2 times 25, that's a positive 50. So that is not going to work. 2x squared minus 50, that works. And here we have 2x times x, which is 2x squared. 2x times 5, which is a positive 10x, minus 10x, minus 50. And this will simplify down to the same thing. So we have found out that this middle one is not going to work, and that's the one that you would select. If the cost of custom painting is $1.25 per square foot, how much would it cost to paint a triangular accent design with a height of 9 feet and a base of 14 feet? So anytime you have something in square foot, you're dealing with area, okay? So we need to know what the area of a triangle is, which is 1/2 base times the height. So if the area is equal to half of the base, they told me that the base was 14 and that the height was 9. I'm just going to complete this multiplication and simplify. 1/2 of 14 is 7 times 9. 7 times 9 is 63 square feet. I still need to determine how much it's going to cost if it's 125 per square foot. 63 times 125 will equal $78.75. Your total cost is going to be the amount of square feet times the price per square foot will give you the cost. All right, the question asks, if n is the least of two consecutive odd integers, what would be the sum of the two integers? Keyword here is going to be odd, okay? We're starting with n, and the next number is going to be an odd number. Well, think about it. If the first number is n, the next number is an odd number, how many jumps is it going to take to get there? Let's just do an example. If you have 5, 7, 9. If 5 is the least, and I need to get to the next one, which is 7, what would I add? 2, because if I add 1, that would be 6. But I'm adding 2. So to get to the next number, it'll be n plus 2. And so this would be your sequence. They want us to find the sum, so now we're going to add everything together. N plus n would be 2 n's. We don't have another constant, so we'll bring it down, and it'll be 2n plus 2. So the sum of two integers that are odd would be 2n plus 2. So for this one, you'll need to know your exponent rules. And this is a negative exponent, and then positive. You can go ahead and simplify inside the parentheses first. And I want you to understand that there's always a 1 if there's not an exponent written. So inside the parentheses, we're going to have x to the negative 3. And then for these two y's here, think of this as a big subtraction sign. I have y to the power of 1 minus 4, all raised to the negative 1. I'm going to simplify again. Y to the 1 minus 4 will be y to the negative 3 to the negative 1 power. So here I have this exponent on the outside. What I'm going to do is just like when there's something on the outside of the parentheses, everything gets multiplied on the inside, and it's only exponent times exponent. So now I have negative 3 times negative 1, y to the negative 3 times negative 1. This is going to make my exponents become positive, and that will be your final answer. All right, Barry has 3 coins. They're worth 5 cents each. Then he has 4 coins, and they're worth 10 cents each. Okay, so three coins that are equal to 5 cents, and then he has 4 coins that are equal to 10 cents. And if he randomly chooses 2 of these coins, what's the probability that the sum of them is going to equal at least 15 cents? And when I looked on the, let's see, the Accuplacer, like the key, what they did was focus on what would not equal at least 15 cents. So when you do probability, it's going to be your possible outcome out of your total outcomes. And the only way that if he draws 2 coins, they won't equal 15 cents is if he gets 2 5-cent coins, right? Because if he gets a nickel and a dime, that'll be 15. Even if he draws 2 10-cents, that'll be 20. So if he gets 2 5-cent coins, that will not equal 15 cents. So the possibility of him drawing a 5-cent coin on the first try will be 3 out of 7 because he has 3 coins that are 5 cents, and the total amount of coins he has is 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. Now, on the next draw, if he happened to get that 5-cent coin, that means that his chance would go down by 1. So now he only has a 2 and a 6 chance. What you're going to do is multiply both of these together. That's how you solve this one. And it'll give him 6 out of 42. Okay, so he'll get 6 out of 42. You always want to simplify. Divide both by 6. All right, so 6 over 42 is going to reduce down to 1 out of 7. And this would be the probability of not getting 15 cents or more. Therefore, the probability of getting 15 cents or more would then be your total probability, which is 7 out of 7, minus 1 out of 7, which would give me 6 over 7. So the probability of getting at least 15 cents would be 6/7. And in the answer key, you'll see them do 1 minus in, whatever the probability of not getting it is. Just remember that this 1 will be 7 over 7 or whatever the denominator represents. So we need to find the y-intercept of the following equation. Let's remember what an y-intercept is. It means that we're going to cross the y-axis, right? So for that to happen, then my x-coordinate must be 0. What I can do is insert 0 into every place there's an x in the equation to figure out what y means at that, or what y is equal to at that point. So let's just begin simplifying. Inside the parentheses first, 0 minus 1/5 is 1/5, 0 plus 4 is 4. Now we'll multiply in order. 10 times 1/5, that's going to simplify down to -2. And we'll bring the 4 down. And that happened because when you multiply fractions, it'll be top times top, which is 10. Denominator times denominator, which is 5. 10 divided by 5 is -2. Last step, -2 times 4 is -8. So this says when x is at 0, y is -8, which is your y-intercept. The area of the triangle above is 24. What is the value of x? So that means I'm going to have to get x by itself in some way. First, let's look at the formula for area, which is base times height divided by 2. And it's also known to be 1/2 of the base times the height. I'm going to use this one. They're the exact same thing. Fill in our information. It says that the area is 24. The base is going to be equal to x plus 2, and the height is equal to x. So 24 is equal to x plus 2, and I always use parentheses when I substitute in to keep my information straight, all divided by 2. Now we are going to get x by itself. That's what we're trying to do. We're going to see if that's going to work, right? 2 times 2 on both sides because we want to eliminate that fraction. 2 times 24 is 48, which is equal to x plus 2 times x. 48, just going to keep simplifying, is equal to x squared plus 2x. I'm here and I'm not going to be able to get x by itself. This is a quadratic equation, which means I'm going to have to solve it using factoring, and I'm going to subtract 48 on both sides because I need to make this equation equal to 0. So now I'll have x squared plus 2x minus 48 is equal to 0. I can solve this using factoring. I'm going to look for two numbers that multiply to equal 48 and -48, but add together to equal a +2. Those two numbers, let's see, 8 and 6, That means my 8 has to be positive, my 6 has to be negative, equal to 0. When you get to this part, you're going to set each of these expressions equal to 0 and solve them. So x plus 8 is equal to 0, and then x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now I can get x by itself. Here, x is going to be equal to negative 8. And over here, x is going to be equal to positive 6. And since I can only have a measurement that is positive, remember, it can't be this is the answer. So the x is going to have to equal positive 6. So which of these values of x will give me the result of an imaginary number, which means in a number that is not real, okay? Imaginary numbers are not real, which is why they are imaginary. And when I'm dealing with radicands and square roots, the number cannot be negative. So negative numbers are going to be your imaginary answers in a radicand. Okay, so if I had a negative square root of negative 1, that's going to give me an imaginary number. The square root of 1, I'm cool. That's good. Everything is okay with that. All right, so what we're going to do is just substitute in these answers that they give us here, and we're going to see which one is going to give me a negative result. First one is f of x is equal to the square root of 9 minus, let's do 0, 0 squared, which would be the square root of 9 minus 0, which is going to be the square root of 9, which is going to be 3. It is positive. You actually don't even have to solve it all the way out because you're good to go. The next one is going to be, we just need to keep substituting in the rest of the options, 3, 9, and 1. We have the square root of 9 minus x squared, square root of 9 minus 3 squared, which would be 9 minus 9, which would give me the square root of 0, which is 0. So that is okay. Anything that's positive is going to work. Let's do 9 minus 9 squared. 9 minus 81. I'm already seeing this is not going to work. So we can go ahead and try the one. 9 minus 1 squared should have been 9 minus 1, which is 8, but I messed up. But hey, it was still positive and worked. So our number that is going to give us an imaginary answer will be 9. A new school is opening, and if all goes well, they project to triple enrollment every 5 years. The school is going to begin with 50 students. So what expression could be used to represent the number of students that have enrolled after T years of the school being open? I like math because when it's multiple choice, you can just kind of work with these equations and manipulate them a little bit and see which one is really working for you. So with a question like this, let's just like analyze it and go through it and see if we can create an equation or just make it make sense. It says that the students they start with is going to be 50, and it's going to triple every 5 years. So it started with 50. Now, after the first 5 years, it would be 50 times 3, and that's 150, right? So this would be at 5 years. Now, 5 more years, that would be 10 years, and it's going to triple. So that would be 150 times 3 again, which is going to be 450. So let's see if any of these questions would give us, one of these answers. So for the first one, it says 3 times 50, t over 5, and t is the number of years. So 3 times 50, and then let's use 5 years. 5 divided by 5 would then be 3 times 50 to the power of 1, which would give us 150. So let's just double check and take it up a notch to the next set of 5 years. 3 times 50, and that'll be t, so this is for the second set, over 5. 3 times 50 to the power of 2. 50 to the power of 2 would be 55. 50 times 50, so that would be 3 times 250. Woo, nope, that is not going to give me 450. So this first equation is not going to work at all. So we know we can eliminate that one. Let's try the second one. Now think about it though. Like I said, math is analytical. You gotta kind of think. If I know that dividing the time by 5 is not gonna work, do you think multiplying the time by 5 is gonna work? So let's just go ahead and jump to the 10 years, and since that's where we got thrown off last time. So it says 3 times 50 and then 5 times 10. That'll give us 50 to the power of 50. If the last one didn't work to the power of 5, that's not going to work. So we know that's not going to work. That's why I said you can just go through these and just, manipulate them and mess with them and solve them, and it'll help. Next equation is 50 times 3. So this number is smaller. And then 5, we're going to use that second one with the 10 years again. So 50 times 3 to the power of 50. Let's see, would 3 to the power of 50 work? I think that's going to be a huge number. 150 times 3 is 450. I know 3 to the power of 50. 3 to the power of 2 is 9. 3 to the power of 3 is 27. And I'm already going to be past my my 450 that I need. Because 3 times 50 times 9 is going to be 450. So nope, that's not going to work either. Well, I'm only left with one, but I just want to make sure I didn't, mess up anything. So 50 times 3, and then I'm going to take the 10 years and divide them by 5. Let me erase this last one. That'll give me 50 times 3 to the power of 2, which would be 50 times 9, which is going to give me exactly what I want, which is 450. So this last equation is going to work just fine. All right, we got through all 20 questions, y'all. Hopefully you're ready for the TSI test. Do well.